Episode 446. After the commentators quickly analyzed the lineups from both sides, the audience was already boiling over with anticipation. The organizers and broadcasters clearly understood that this was the absolute ultimate climax of the entire All-Star weekend. They took their time building up the hype, letting the atmosphere reach its absolute peak before the All-Star team competition finally kicked off. 10 of Glory's most famous top-tier characters, each representing a different class, plunged into the fray. For Team 1, the commander was Yu Wenzhou. For Team 2, Wang Jixi's command skills were also formidable, but he yielded the role to Zhang Xinjie. Thus, the two tactical masters became the first to lock horns. This match was packed with potential. Team 1 formed up and charged straight in to attack. Team 2, however, showed their intent to counterattack. The 5 players fanned out, setting up their positions across the map, waiting for Team 1 to advance. Such tactical intentions, of course, should never be exposed to the opponent, but in this all-star match, there was a bit of a slip-up. The player booths were specially equipped with windows to view the holographic projection, a feature meant to let the players appreciate the advanced technology themselves. But at this moment, a glance at the all-encompassing holographic projection made the tactical intentions of Team 2 utterly transparent, and this was a point that hadn't been fully considered during the holographic projection's initial deployment. Team 1's advance quickly adjusted. Any player with a decent grasp of Glory could immediately see the logic behind it. They realized this was a direct counter to Team 2's setup. Of course, the audience wasn't up on the stage, so they had no idea about the massive blunder that had just occurred. They were all just marveling, assuming Team 1's tactical mastermind Yu Wenzhou had predicted Team 2's entire setup. Seeing the first team close in, the second team's supporters were in an uproar. They looked like lambs to the slaughter, hearts pounding with anxiety, wishing they could just rush onto the stage and shake their players to warn them. As the first team's players closed in, many spectators began rising to their feet, their anxiety palpable. But when Team 2 shifted their formation, their scattered members suddenly contracted, creating a situation where they outnumbered and targeted a single point on Team 1. Team 1 reacted just as swiftly, scrapping their previous strategy on the spot. They adjusted their formation, ready to meet Team 2 head-on. The more knowledgeable fans in the audience were clapping and cheering, their shouts absolutely thunderous. They kept exclaiming, "Now that's what you call master tacticians. They can predict everything." Little did they know, the two commanders on the stage, Yu Wenzhou and Zhang Xinjie, were both wearing bitter smiles. They were clever, but their opponent was no fool. In reality, both sides had simply seen the holographic projection through the windows of their respective competition platforms. This wasn't some stroke of genius. They just had better eyesight. Both sides were top-tier experts, so their tactical awareness was naturally superb. Even though they weren't on the same team, their coordination wasn't the least bit awkward. Once the orders were given, their movements were crisp and decisive. The targeted adjustments from both sides were perfectly synchronized, as if pre-arranged. To the uninformed audience, it all looked incredibly clever and impressive. With Yu Wenzhou and Zhang Xinjie both watching, any tactic that relied on stealth, like a sneak attack or an ambush, was completely off the table. This match was clearly going to be a head-on clash. In a head-on clash, Zhang Xinjie knew his side held the advantage. After all, their team was a properly balanced professional squad. A hard attack formation like the first team's could bully opponents clearly outmatched. But here, with both sides fielding all-star players, the strength was evenly split. Did they really think they could push us around that easily? With that thought, Zhang Xinjie wasted no more time. At his command, the 5 members of Team 2 advanced in an X-shaped formation to meet the enemy head-on. The audience thought the fight was about to begin. But then, the first team, which had charged forward so aggressively at the start, suddenly seemed to get cold feet. Not only did they not engage, they actually started to pull back. Their positioning left the spectators utterly baffled. To the crowd's further confusion, as Team 1 pulled back, Team 2 suddenly stopped in their tracks. The audience exchanged puzzled glances. What was the deeper meaning behind this tactical maneuver? They had no idea. The audience was completely baffled, but Zhang Xinjie was sweating bullets. Why did Team 2 suddenly stop advancing? Because after Team 1's retreat, Zhang Xinjie looked out from the match booth window and sat. All 5 members of Team 1 had now used this blind spot in his line of sight to conceal themselves. Zhang Xinjie was naturally taken aback. He immediately understood that Yu Wenzhou's strategic vision was, after all, a notch above his own. He had realized early on that the key difference in this match was that both commanders could use the holographic projection to oversee the entire battlefield, something absolutely impossible in a normal league match. With Zhang Xinjie on the second team, there was no question about who would be in command. So Yu Wenzhou made a point of noting the location of Zhang Xinjie's competition booth, using it to pinpoint the blind spots in his holographic projection view. And now he was using that very blind spot to conceal all 5 members of his team. Now the enemy was hidden while they were exposed, and the situation had completely changed. Zhang Xinjie, having completely failed to note Yu Wenzhou's competition pod location and unwilling to make a wild guess, had no choice but to order his team to halt for the moment. Zhang Xinjie didn't try to hide it, and immediately explained the current situation in detail.
I can see it from my position.
Wang Jixi answered immediately. The 6 competition podiums were in different positions, and their window views varied. The blind spot for Zhang Xinjie was, in fact, a clear line of sight from Wang Jixi's position.
Then you take command.
Zhang Xinjie handed over command. He was a tactical master, but that didn't guarantee victory. It just meant that in comparison, he was the best choice. Faced with this dilemma, handing command over to Wang Jixi couldn't necessarily be called a failure in the making. Zhang Xinjie was still on their team, after all, so with the first team lying in ambush, they weren't in any hurry to advance. After observing Team 1's setup, Wang Jixi understood their plan. Naturally, Team 2 made the corresponding adjustments. The adjustment was simple. Its purpose was just to avoid a disadvantage, not to try and figure out the enemy's position to gain any advantage. This match was just too transparent. The flawed design of the competition stage meant both sides already knew each other inside and out, even though Yu Wenzhou had used Zhang Xinjie's perspective to pull off that little maneuver. The result was just Wang Jixi taking over command, bringing things right back to square one. No one was fooling anyone. Even if you managed to fool Wang Jixi, there's still Li Shun and Deng Fusheng. These guys are either captains or vice-captains. Which one of them can't hold their own? Does Yu Wenzhou really think he can find the blind spot for every single one of them? If that were the case, their maneuvering room would be shattered, and any chance of tactical ambush would be gone. This exchange truly showcased the skill of the masters on both sides, though for the live audience unaware of the inside story, it was a bit hard to follow. Only someone like Yi Shu, a true expert who had also been on the competition stage himself, could look at the 2 teams' actions now and immediately grasp the bizarre situation they were in. He couldn't help but see the whole thing as a joke.